Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Pirelli, and today for my presentation I chose to do it on climate change and how it affects our environment and how it also relates to cellular and molecular biology. So let's just get into it. So what is climate change? Before we really get into this presentation, we need to have a basic understanding of what climate change is. So it is the long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to a certain location, region, or as a whole globe. This also includes global warming, which is driven by human emission. It could be a change in the amount of precipitation or the usual temperature for a particular month or season in an area. And climate change takes hundreds or even millions of years to occur, so it needs to build up over time before it actually makes an effect on the planet. So the difference between weather and climate. So weather and climate are two very different things that I have listed here. So weather is just a short-term effect. It happens daily, it changes daily. And it has a limited area that becomes affected by it. So your town could have 5 inches of rain and the one next to you could have 0. It's very one or the other. It doesn't spread over a large area. It can, but it usually doesn't. It can change rapidly, so one point you could have pouring down rain, and then right after that, the next, it could be bright and sunny. And it's difficult to predict, as you see on the weather. Meteorologists have a difficult time predicting the weather at times, and sometimes we're still wrong to this day. So weather right now is just what you see outside your window. Look outside. Is it raining? Is it snowing? What you visually see right now. So climate is, on the other hand, a long-term effect of what's been going on. It takes over a wide area, so a larger region becomes affected by it, not just a specific little area like a town. It's more of a statewide kind of thing, and bigger than that. So seasonal changes, so at some point you might have a really cold winter, and then building up over time, the climate change creates a warmer winter for you. So not as much snow, more rain, warmer temperatures, stuff like that. It is measured over long spans of time. So before they know that if a region will have a climate change, it'll be from measurements over time. If it's still increasing over time, then you could have a result in climate change. So climate is just the average of many years of observation, looking at the data from before previous years and looking to see if it's getting warmer. So what affects climate? There are 2 different factors that affect climate, and these are biotic and abiotic factors. So first, the biotic factors are respiration, photosynthesis, digestion, and decomposition. And the abiotic factors are evaporation, ocean currents, altitude, latitude, solar radiation, and volcanic activity. So this is more, the abiotic factors are more of what happens on our Earth, on our planet, that we really have no control over. It just happens in, day to day. So moving forward, we get into the greenhouse gases, which will make more sense in the next slide. But for a basis, greenhouse gases are gases that trap the heat in the atmosphere, which cause the climate change. Some examples of these greenhouse gases that we have talked about in class and how they enter the atmosphere are, first of all, carbon dioxide. We talk about it every day. Enters through burning fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas, and oil. The next one is methane, which becomes emitted during the production and transport of coal, natural gas, and oil. And their emissions also come from livestock and agricultural practices. So, for example, something such as running a tractor releases methane into the air. And nitrous oxide is emitted during agricultural and industrial activities as well. And the combustion of fossil fuels and solid waste produce the nitrous oxide into the air. So from those greenhouse gases, we move into the greenhouse effect. So a basis, what is the greenhouse effect? This is the trapping of the sun's warmth in the lower atmosphere of the planet, creating a warmer environment to us to live in, making the earth much warmer. So greenhouse gases contribute to the respiratory disease from smog and air pollution, holding these gases into our atmosphere creates a more polluted air for us to breathe every day. And some examples of the climate change from the greenhouse gases include extreme weather and food supply, as well as increased wildfires. So this diagram here kind of shows a visual of what the greenhouse effect is. So some of the sunlight that hits the earth is reflected back into space, while the rest is being held, becoming the heat that heats our earth. And then the greenhouse gases prevent the heat from escaping into space and warming the planet. So these are the gases that actually hold it down into our earth and make it warmer. So the evidence of climate change is a pretty obvious one. First off, a lot of people know about this. Glaciers worldwide are melting in the Arctic. It's becoming much warmer, resulting in the glaciers to melt. The tree ring data shows that there's a warming trend. The animal and plant life is changing. Many of these species are becoming extinct. This can come from the burning of their habitats, from these wildfires that occur, as well as this climate change is creating an environment where their food cannot survive, whether that's plants or animals that they're eating. The average temperature for each state continues to increase every few years. So just each state around the world is becoming warmer from the data collected. And the sea levels continue to rise each year worldwide. So some human activities that contribute to climate change include burning fossil fuels, like we had talked about before, releasing harmful chemicals into the atmosphere. This could come from factories and so forth, destroying forest regions, like cutting down the trees in the rainforest, expansion of industrial activities, building more factories, and using automotive vehicles, just the cars we drive every day to get to where we need to be. During the 20th and 21st century, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has risen by 40%. That is a great rise in the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That should not be that high. The Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change stated with over 95% certainty that the human activity was the main cause of the global warming. So us as a human race are increasing the global warming and climate change and making it happen. Basically, the things that we're doing every day is not helping the environment, it's actually ruining it. So animals and their climate change. So like I talked about before, the sea levels are rising as well as becoming warmer. This creates a more intense drought and threatens the wildlife and freshwater supply. So these droughts create not a lot of fresh water left for these animals to drink, becoming dehydrated and eventually dying from dehydration. The climate change poses a fundamental threat to the species that live in these areas. So like I said before, it's burning down the habitats and not allowing these animals to have a safe environment to live in. And then next, these new climate changes create a directly harmful environment for animals, destroying their habitats. Like I said before, it's burning them down. It's too hot for them to live in, such as the polar bear shown. They just can't survive in these climates. So, and then some animals that are most affected by climate change are the polar bear, the green sea turtle, and snow leopards. So snow leopards and polar bears, it's just too warm for them to live in these environments. The melting of the glaciers, the snow, it's just getting too warm for them to survive, as well as their food not being able to survive, creating for them to not have enough food. And then the green sea turtle is affected by the sea levels rising, and as well as the warmer sea. So climate change related to our class biology. Biology is important in understanding the basics of climate change. So climate change can disrupt the match between organisms in their local environments, reducing their survival as well as production. Climate change has a lot to do with different gases becoming trapped in the Earth's atmosphere. Greenhouse effect, these gases are those that we have learned the structure of and the function. So like I said before, carbon dioxide, methane, we learned the function of them and the structure of them in our class, and used to synthesize carbohydrates from the atmospheric CO2 for fuel and as raw materials for the chemical industry. So in class, I mean, we are still learning about these molecules and the carbohydrates that are synthesized from them. So I thought that was a pretty interesting relation between these two types of things. So one of the last things, reducing the effects of climate change. So there's many ways that we could. Like I said before, human emission is one of the main causes of climate change and global warming. So the first step is admitting that climate change is a problem. We need to realize that this is happening from a scientific standpoint. The data is there to back it up. We need to make a change to fix these sort of things. Ways to reduce climate change include reducing waste, conserving electricity, driving less, supporting public transportation, walking or biking, even carpooling. Less cars on the road mean less fumes being let into the air. Conserving hot water and reusing renewable resources such as solar panels. There's not enough of these. The cost is something that doesn't allow for this to occur, but it's something that's becoming more popular, but it needs to get there a little quicker to reduce the amount of climate change occurring. And to stop cutting down trees. This has been an issue for a while now. The cutting of the rainforests have been a big issue, and even now cutting down in the national parks, the state parks, of the habitats of these animals that are becoming extinct because they have nowhere to live. They can't relocate. They're in the trees. They cut them down. They pass away from their habitat being taken down while they're in them. So that's something that definitely needs to change. So these are my sources. I used quite a few, but I also used a peer-reviewed journal as well. So I hope you enjoyed my video and learned something, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.